As we bring in one other thing that we absolutely had to get to, if you haven't heard about it yet, this Trump controversy that is being called, I'm sorry, Sharpiegate. It begins this very morning with Donald Trump speaking to reporters about an admittedly serious topic, Hurricane Dorian, holding up a poster of the Dorian forecast. So far, so good. Then people noticed, because it is a public press event, something weird that you see on the map. It appeared someone drew on an extra part, very clumsily there, to make it appear as if Alabama might also be in the storm's path, which it wasn't. You see it right here. This is the important part, because that extra line, which appears to be drawn in a Sharpie marker, notice it doesn't match the underlying white line used for the path of the storm. And the context is as petty as it is embarrassing, because Donald Trump was hammered for an error of his own making when he claimed the storm might hit Alabama, which was so flatly wrong there was no way to defend it. So government forecasters had to come out and correct their own supervisor, the president. So who altered the map? Why did they use a black Sharpie instead of a white line that might have looked slightly more realistic? I can't tell you we know at this time, but I can give you the evidence. We know the president has an affinity for the Sharpie marker. He uses them, somewhat unusually, to sign even official government business documents. He uses them for notes before he speaks publicly, and he uses them even to write thickly worded, angry notes to reporters and columnists, even underlining the words. There you see the quote word racist under a note he sent in Sharpie to the Washington Post, Jonathan Capehart. Donald Trump likes Sharpies so much, it even came up as a topic in an interview he did.
So that's the Sharpie. Now, I said to myself, well, wait a minute, this writes much better. And this costs almost nothing, and the pen is extremely expensive. So I called up the folks at Sharpie, and I said, do me a favor. Can you make the pen in black? Make it look rich? And he said, not only we can do that, we can put your signature on. See, that's your signature right there. This cost practically nothing, and the other one was immensely expensive. And you give them out. And more important than anything, it writes well, so it works out good. I don't want to make this as a commercial for Sharpie. But what it is a commercial on saving money, too.
I don't know. There's so much there. The pen being immensely expensive might be the biggest problem. There are many problems. Donald Trump touting that he did try to reach out to the folks at Sharpie to get a special personalized pen. Also, you're the president. Anyway, what is serious here when you look at the footage is whether that extra looping line was drawn by the President of the United States in a lie to defend a gaffe he made that did have security implications to make up for it.
You showed us a map earlier, the initial forecast.
Yeah.
It appeared to have been edited or something to include Alabama. Can you explain how that change was made?
No, I just know, I know that Alabama was in the original forecast.
That map that you showed us today, it looked like it almost had like a Sharpie.
I don't know.
Eleanor, the thing is that I want to be very clear. The serious part of this is the error he made, which the Weather Service had to correct, and we've been covering that. The ridiculous part is the Sharpiegate. What do you make of this very 2019 story?
Yeah, I want to laugh, but something inside is telling me, Eleanor, do not laugh. He mucked with a weather report that had real consequences for people in the path of that storm who are on his Twitter account, who take every word he says seriously, and Alabama is a state that went for him by, humongous number of points. But why would he want to include Alabama? There's no political reason. I think he just wasn't paying attention, or he doesn't know his geography. And he said it, and he cannot admit any kind of mistake, even an honest mistake.
Yeah.
And so he's now doubling and tripling and quadrupling, whatever they do in gymnastics, a triple axel, to justify what he said.
That's graceful, though, Eleanor. That's graceful.
I hate to say it was very graceful. I hate to say it, Eleanor, but you almost get the impression this is someone who does a lot of crossword puzzles in pen.
No, I don't think so.
Maria?
Download the app. No, so I think, the biggest challenge is that he is potentially diverting much-needed resources to the actual victims, not only also creating potential chaos for people in Alabama. And legally, by law, when you misrepresent weather reports, that is actually a crime. So I wonder if the Democrats might actually find now grounds for impeachment, since he kept repeating it over and over. But that's, I jest. I think the challenge, though, is that, to Eleanor's point, he can't admit when he's wrong. And when you have leadership, you want to be able to admit when you're wrong, so that when you make a mistake, people take your confidence in saying, look, that was an error, I slip of the tongue, but actually this is what we need to make sure that the resources are going to Florida, that they are going to North Carolina, and our prayers are with the people from the Bahamas, but he doesn't have that grace to do that.
Yeah.
Right, and this also goes to something we all know from being practiced in reporting and journalism, which is this is just what we're seeing. This is the clumsy public effort with a Sharpie. How many times are serious security pieces of information and facts and briefings and all of that being compromised in private settings where he's also wanting the world to be the way it is? Eleanor, I do have one more question about this for you, and it's a quick one.
All right.
Did the black Sharpie fool you at any point, or did it look different enough? We could put it back up on the screen. Did it look different enough from the white line that you were not taken in?
I wasn't paying that close, but if you get close to the television screen and you look at it, you can see it's an obvious addition. And the press pointed it out so quickly that I felt I discovered it myself.
Well, sometimes people in office, in all parties, they sometimes humiliate themselves. This may be one of those times because, as you say, the fact check didn't require a ton of time or effort, as long as you could, see. Eleanor and Maria, thank you for tackling the big and the petty issues tonight. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Ari.
Thank you both. I appreciate it. Hey, I'm Ari Melber from MSNBC. You can see more of our videos right here, or better yet, subscribe to our YouTube channel below. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with us, and we appreciate that.